Still haven't got it. Picture day Thursday for Lynn.
Gel, lotion, blueberry deodorant.
Is it a scratch and sniff photo? And oop.
I think it's right there.
Okay.
Should probably look at the schematics of this laptop.
Okay.
Hi, honey. How are you?
Hi, honey. How are you?
So we hired at my work. We hired this lovely fellow named Ethan. We'll call him Ethan. Asterisk, not his real name. And Ethan is a character. Couple noteworthy notes about him. So he lives in South Sac, and it's lower socioeconomic area. But Ethan's a fine fellow. But he said that in summer, when it's hot, his 7-Eleven, the 7-Eleven he lives near, they let the homeless go in there and fill up their cups for free from the soda fountain. And then if you need a cup, it's 25 cents. So
I think that's great.
it is. He's not homeless, although he does sleep in the back of his pickup truck in the bed.
He just does that for fun.
He is one of those snug top deals. But when the 7-Eleven is doing this, he said him and his lady, they bring 64-ounce water thermoses or drinking containers, put a little ice in them, fill one up with Mountain Dew Code Red, and then they fill the other up with Starry, which replaced Squirt or
Sprite.
Sprite, yeah. So they got 64 ounces of Code Red, 64 ounces of Starry. They go home, they put the Starry in the fridge, and they just sip on the Code Red for 2-3 days, and then after that, when that's all out, they go to the Starry. And I was like, wow, dude.
It's nearly a week's worth of soda.
Yeah.
For 2 people.
We're out here living in 2023, and he's out there living in 3023. Another thing is that he vapes, which I don't care about, whatever. But so for my job, we drive around, we grab mail, drop off mail, et cetera, et cetera. But he was vaping while we were driving, and I was like, I mean, I know you can smoke, and he was doing it low key, like he was trying to hide it from me. But you can vape tobacco, but you can also vape
marijuana.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you got in that vape there?
Should I tell my boss? I wasn't nervous when he was driving. I drove a little. He drove a little to learn the routes.
Don't be a snitch.
Another thing about Ethan is that at the end he'll say something, and then he, much like Billy Bob Thornton in Sling Blade, he ends things with "mm-hmm." So he'll say like, "Yeah, we went to McDonald's and got a McChicken." Mm-hmm. And then finally, so we're driving around, we're doing our routes. I'm training him. He's learning, blah blah blah. And I notice him nodding off. I'm like, okay. And I'm driving, and I just see his head dropping, picking it up, dropping, picking it up, and he's kind of his body is like moving along with the bumps in the road, and so he's falling asleep to the point where his head starts going to the side, to the left side, and it ends up on my shoulder. And I'm like, Brew. And I said, Brew, wake up, Brew. Which I was laughing while saying it, but also like, this is your first week, dude. Like, shouldn't you be taking this seriously? And like, I'm not his mom, but I was like, go to bed, dude. 7:30, 8:30, 9, whatever. Whatever you're doing is wrong. And it's your first week. Jeez, Ethan. So we're driving around, and you talk about your hopes and dreams in your life, honey, with strangers. It's quite when you're in close quarters in a tiny van for 7 hours a day, week one. You chat about stuff, and so he starts telling me about his tooth. Like, all right, and half of one of his back bottom teeth is gone.
Ah,
It disintegrated. It rotted away, whatever. Uh, to the point where he showed me, like he opened his mouth
ew.
and he's like, oh, yeah. And I look, and I'm not a dentist, and I have zero knowledge of anything in the dental uh, arena. But I was like, that doesn't look normal. That doesn't look natural. That doesn't look good, Ethan. Um, but he's been having this issue throughout the pandemic, a couple of years, and he said so he start and the missing partial tooth is on the left side. So what he does is if he starts eating almonds or whatever, he chomp 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 on the right side, and then he moves the mush to his left side,
Oh,
and then
jeez.
he kind of swirls it around there. And so he's like, I'm quoting him. He's like, I'm chomp, chomp, chomp on the right side, mush on the left side. And then I'm worried about the right side. Then I'm chewing too much and I'm
Yes.
overcompensating. Um, and he just doesn't know what to do. He doesn't have currently doesn't have a dental insurance, but he's been using this pain numbing agent, like an ointment that he puts where the partial tooth is gone, and it numbs it, but that's not a long term solution,
Mm-hmm.
Ethan.
That sounds horrible.
I'm not a doctor, but I did stay at a Howard Johnson Inn last night. But that's what he's been doing, and he says he wakes up with the chicken in that area, that in that vacant spot. It's a whole deal.
He gave you a lot of gruesome details about
Yeah,
his
yeah.
mouth.
He went into lurid detail. So we're sitting there Thursday at lunch, and he falls asleep again with the sleeping Ethan. But whatever, we're on lunch. We're just all sitting there chatting, milling around. He falls asleep, whatever. Uh, and then at the end of lunch, he wakes up and he starts complaining about his absent tooth, partial tooth, tons of pain. Like he can't swallow. He's holding it. He's writhing around.
Mm.
His jaw is swollen. He can barely talk. When he does talk, it's it turns into a whole like episode. And so I don't know what to do. So because he's a grown ass man, and I want to help, and I care about Ethan. Um, I mean, he did fall asleep on my shoulder, honey. I think we're going steady.
You practically snuggled.
But I don't know what to do. I don't know how much hand holding he needs. So he's like, I need ice. I need ice. Okay, we got a refrigerator. So I put him, take him to the break room. I'm like, there's the refrigerator. Opens the freezer, and it's not a bag of ice, a bag of ice. It's like the ice that freezers used to get in the 1980s, like the dry ice that kind of forms on the sides of the freezer, on the top and the walls and the bottom.
You're not meant to use that. That's just.
That's all we had. That's all Ethan had. So he breaks off a piece of
Oh.
this dry ice, and he's like, "I need a bag."
Oh.
So he can put the dry ice in and hold it to his jaw. So I happen to have a grocery outlet bargain market, a plastic bag in my locker. So I go fetch that for him. And I'm like, this is the only bag I got, dude. So he puts this piece of disgusting ice that's probably been there since 1974, and he puts it against his jaw.
Mm.
And then he goes, do we have Tylenol? Do we have Tylenol? Yeah, and I take him to our first aid kit, which is a freaking disaster, to be honest. But there's Bayer, the the ibuprofen or whatever it is, the painkiller, similar to Tylenol, and and so it comes. It's a little pack that comes in two pills for a little pack, and so he takes a quarter from his pocket and he starts like crushing it, like it's still inside, it's still packaged, but he starts like grinding it with the quarter, and I'm like, what? I didn't know what was going on. I was like, is he gonna snort it? I'm at my wit's end. I throw my arms up, um, and then so it's powdery. He's ground it up. It's powdery, unfurls the powder, breaks apart the packet, the plastic wrapping, and then he licks his finger, he licks his index finger, gets it wet, and then he puts his index finger, much like a Fun Dip, the famous candy. He puts his wet index finger in the Bayer powder and proceeds to take this index finger full of Bayer powder. It looks like freaking cocaine. Um, and he puts it inside his mouth, and he puts the Bayer powder directly onto where his missing tooth is. I was
Hmm.
like, Jesus Christ, dude, you're hardcore. It was like the movies when like the bad guy, the villain, uh, takes some cocaine and kind of
Yeah.
rubs it against his lips like, I'm a badass, I'm a badass, I'm hardcore. I'm like, wow, wow, really, Ethan. Um, Finally, so training stopped that day. I continued the route without him, um, and his lady came and picked him up. He couldn't get to a dentist. He couldn't get in to his dentist. He went to hospital. They gave him some antibiotics, and he's going to grit and bear it, a stiff upper lip, like the British say, for 1 month when he's told that he will have access to Delta Dental, which is what we have at our job. Uh, but yeah,
Oh,
that's Ethan.
poor guy.
He's freaking hardcore. Also, he doesn't have a checking account, which is a whole nother deal. Um, but he's a fine fellow. But yeah, falling asleep and this tooth thing has been a whole deal. Uh, I wish him well. I couldn't imagine
I
that.
I know that's terrible pain. Tooth and mouth pain is
Yeah.
just the worst.
Yes. Yes. And when I visited my mom's big on teeth, taking care of your teeth, and I completely agree. Um,
Although you didn't brush your teeth for 2 days while you were with her.
yes. Well, I didn't shower either, and I was wearing the same underwear. But anyways, honey.
Oh.
But I think well. So I was putting two and two together. I'm a freaking private investigator. 64 ounces of Code Red, 64 ounces of Starry. You're vaping. Those are all bad for your teeth, bro. Okay,
Yeah,
Ethan.
that's true.
So maybe when you get help and you get this taken care of, change the diet. But yeah, he's a good dude. Um, but
He's still a good person.
he's still a good person. And that's my story about Ethan. I hope he stays. Although the first 2 days was a little questionable, a little questionable. But third day, he won my heart over. He put your head on
Yeah.
my shoulder. Ooh wee, ooh wee. Hold me in your arms, baby. Okay. Are we done, honey?
Yes.
Okay. Love you, Ethan. Bye.